Question 1246. Is gatekeeping required for a successful community?
Don't know, honestly.
Who's he asking first?
Say that again?
Who's he going to ask first?
Anyone that wants to answer. I only normally ask someone if no one answers.
I'll go first because I have a pretty strong opinion on that.
Go on.
No.
Why not?
I believe that it creates a sense of segregation.
But that creates a strong, cohesive community.
If you're talking about the community inside the gates, then is that what you mean, or do you mean global community?
I mean to interpret any way you want, but mostly smaller.
Global community is great. Those people on Mars can fuck off.
Well, I guess to answer both, then, yeah, to live inside a gated community is probably not a bad thing.
You tend to have to conform, which is what happens when you have gatekeepers.
Yeah, and I couldn't do that.
You already do. You temper yourself to fit in with your local community. I mean, do you within your job? You're not humping the legs of the I can't, of other people. We'll go with. Are you?
No.
So you temper yourself.
They often are me. Well, no, because I don't have the desire to.
No, but my point being is, I was more referring. I can't phrase that without doxing you. You're not going down the beach and humping random people.
No.
Because it wouldn't be considered appropriate within the community you exist in.
Nerdy.
And there's a pandemic.
Nerdy's
but
got
it's
some
to
ideas.
a lesser degree, though.
Nerdy, you're right. Nerdy says the anti-Battenberg community. That's a relatively easy one to gatekeep, though. Do you like Battenberg?
Yes.
Get out!
I am happy to get out of that shitty community.
The pro Disney Star Wars community.
Yeah.
I'm happy to not be in that one as well.
And maybe the Georgian community, which thankfully...
Which Georgia?
Yeah,
America.
But say,
the American one, yeah, I don't want to be in that.
Yeah.
Let me read the chat. Never Again says, depends on the community. Nerdy says, who watches the watch people? Godless Sewing says, no, people are controlling and insecure. If they can't handle differences, then you should separate yourself. Brainbug says, yes, in the sense that I would not approve of someone just popping up and claiming that they are part of our community. But that happens all the time.
See, I guess what I was saying, Dave, is it's the degree of the control. Outside the gates, I can paint my house whatever color I want.
Yeah. But inside the gates, you can't. You can paint it whatever color you want. But all the people are going to walk along and say, "Why the hell would you want to do that?" People don't do that here.
Yeah, well, and some of those communities, it's actually dictated.
Yes.
It's I suppose a certain level of gatekeeping could be healthy, but it can go too far. I guess the point where it's just groupthink or whatever, it's gone too far.
Nerdy says your name's not down, you're not coming in. Junk Shop says it depends. Junk Shop says, who was it said it depends on the intent of the community. So I agree with that. Never Again says, I never made any claims on being part of this community. I was simply welcomed and decided to stay. Grins, and I thank you for that. Apparently there is Dave isn't a real Quizmaster community. I'm not a real Quizmaster because they made me answer the frigging questions.
I could get behind that, yeah.
Manda! Granny.
I'm
I
here.
know she's here. She's here.
Go on.
What? The question is referring to what? You have to tell, what was it?
Is gatekeeping required for a successful community?
Unfortunately, I think to an extent, to a very small extent, yes. It just is the nature of the beast.
Good. Granny?
What? I think it depends entirely on the community. And as Junk Shop said, the purpose of the community. If the community is, like a religious community, obviously you're going to have to keep out people that are going to be antagonistic and interruptive.
But that's happened in every community.
Right. And that's where I was going to go. That can happen in other communities, but some communities are so large and so vague that they don't really need that,
I disagree.
Okay.
Because I think they segment and you lose any meaning, any coherent meaning to that community. That's not to say the groups in their own right aren't valid. But they don't mean the same thing. I don't know whether that matters. Maybe it doesn't. Badger.
Yes.
Yes, your answer.
What?
What's your answer to the question?
What's the question again?
Is gatekeeping required for a successful community?
Yes.
Yes. That's it, just yes.
Well, for a successful Badger community, maybe.
No, the Badger communities, well, yes and no for Badger communities.
Well, if all the Badgers get together to make a community, bad things seem to happen.
We don't do that. What we do is we have little family units, and then the younger Badgers go off and form their own little family units when they're ready.
Mm.
And then we fiercely fight with each other over territories.
So I tried to form a misanthropes community, but I just had trouble getting a fucking meeting together.
Mm. Introverts of the world divide.
For instance, I gatekeep hard on my mental health streams, but less so on my other streams. Exactly. Never again. This is why I totally disagree with joining in. I think.
What's the point?
Spooky wants to know what gatekeeping is.
Yes. It's Oh, I thought I was going to sneeze. Anyway, so my answer is yes. Fucking words happen.
Words, yeah.
Right.
Words
gatekeeping is required to an extent for all communities. The level of gatekeeping required depends entirely on what the community is for, and particularly if it's trying to keep something specific out of itself. And then whether that's a good thing depends depends at least largely on whether that community has malicious intent towards other communities.
Yes. Never again says who gets to be the gatekeeper is also an issue for me.
Me.
Generally, though, I find the ones with malicious intent tend to do the most gatekeeping.
I think it shouldn't be it shouldn't be one person. And gatekeeping should be collective in some sense.
I think it can be if you have a strict set of rules and you gatekeep those rules, anyone can do it. Although I have noticed that in the community circles we live, where we have these rules, you don't tend to enforce them with the people you like.
Mm-hmm. I am.
Yes. I can speak to that definitely.
Whereas if you did,
gatekeeper, I'm quite a keen gatekeeper on my different circles of people I know.
Yeah.
I try as much as is badgerly possible to make sure that my different circles of people don't intermingle, because the way I conduct myself in one circle might be somewhat different to the way I conduct myself
Could you
in
show
another
me and
circle.
demonstrate this to me how you do this later on?
Yes, I'm much more open in this little circle about certain thoughts I have than I am in most other areas of my life.
That's probably more common than you think, Dave, because that's very much like that for myself. Sorry, did I interrupt you then, Mama?
Yes, fuck you.
Go on, Manda.
That's gatekeeping, that is.
Oh,
Go on.
You can't be angry at me.
never say me. Absolutely
He's very
not.
cute and
Although it
adorable.
helps
And
if you're showing me your face while you're pissing me off.
he's very cute and adorable and fits in the palm of your hand.
Mhm.
It is quite difficult to be like properly angry with an Australian.
Dave.
Dave. I mean, I can't remember you pissing me off at all now.
That's my evil face.
It
That's
doesn't
me.
matter, Sammy. Your evil face
Does
is...
it look evil?
No.
It is quite difficult to be like legitimately angry with an Australian. The only one that I've managed it with like consistently is Ken Ham.
To be fair, most Australians manage that.
Yeah,
I managed it very successfully yesterday. So
Why do you think we got rid of him?
Who?
Yeah.
I was kind of pissed off when Notcher wouldn't let me eat all his sausages.
Oh, you're
but
straight.
then he just said, he said, not the snags, mate, and I was
Manda, what were you going to say?
What was I going to say when?
When I interrupted you.
I'm just saying that's how he, you know, nobody would ever be mad at Sammy if you could just see him all the time.
No, it was before that.
I don't fucking know. I'm paying attention. I swear.
Right, Junk Shop said, maybe what we're missing is the required. Is it required for a successful community? No. Can it be helpful in construction of a successful community? Yes. Ricardo says, are using gatekeepers and self-policing interchangeable? Yes. Gatekeeping tends to be done, well, it can be done both ways, but mostly within the communities, it's done on an ad hoc.
Also, hey!
I mean, the point is, what would you point to in terms of large social communities, and do they have gatekeeping?
I mean, well, technically, could you argue you like in effect like the mods in like a YouTube chat are kind of there to gatekeep a little bit, you know?
Well, they are there to gatekeep.
That's
Yeah.
perfect.
That is their purpose.
Right, but my point being that if you go, my issue when I wrote this question, and I wrote again, it's the question I actually wrote, was successful. Because every community I could think of that has had any longevity to it has gatekeeped. You know, and you can take it from a country perspective, you can take it from a cause perspective, and I'm not sure whether or not you can get away without it. I think things might fall apart. Go on, Badger, sorry.
I have a specific community answer.
Go on.
Online roleplay groups. It is absolutely essential to gatekeep online roleplay groups by interest.
Yep.
If you, for example, have a roleplay group that is quite heavily focused on wanting supernatural, sparkly magic elements in their roleplay,
yeah,
and you let in a load of people who absolutely despise that and only want grounded, real, very real feeling roleplay, your entire roleplay community will fall apart. The same thing
very
goes
much
for
so.
if you have a load of people who want very adult themed roleplay featuring a lot of lewdness and dark themes, and then you let in some people who want to roleplay,
and you basically destroy the community if you don't do it.
Then you end up completely screwed because you've let in some people who don't like what
Fascinating.
your community is about, and then your community falls apart.
So unicorns versus firemen, and then unicorn versus vampires.
Yeah.
For example.
If you have a unicorn versus fireman community, and a load of people want to play vampires, your community is probably going to fall apart.
And to be honest, what you tend to have is the minority is destroyed. It is. It is. No?
No, the dog keeps trying to walk on the computer. Sorry.
Yeah, what tends to happen when you don't gatekeep is the minority causes tend to get absorbed.
Yes.
And yeah, I liked something here. Never Again said, healthy boundaries are required for a successful community. So you can go with that. Junk Shop says, a huge difference between a YouTube chat and a country. Not convinced. Not from a inclusion-exclusion perspective. Nerdy says, do community guidelines count as gatekeeping? Yes. Ricardo says, I think self-policing...
guidelines can't come in.
Yeah. I think self-policing is required. Gatekeeping is detrimental for context. One is an ongoing process. Other gatekeeping is usually preempted and somewhat authoritarian. Nerdy says, what is wrong with vampire unicorns?
I'll tell you exactly what's wrong.
No, you won't. It was a rhetorical question.
I will, and I shall.
A question, actually.
Just
If you have unicorns, if you have a community based around playing unicorns, the interests of the people in a community based around playing unicorns are quite different from the interests of people who want to play vampires.
Good. Next question.
If you bring in a load of vampire unicorns, they will cock up your unicorn community.
Yes, they will. Right.
Yeah, we want a community of vampire unicorns, is what we're saying.
Yes, lovely. Good. Shut up. If you enjoyed that, please hit the thumbs up button. If you didn't, hit the thumbs down. If you think you've got a better answer or just want to tell us how wrong we are, leave a comment down below. Subscribe down here for new questions every day and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on our live shows. If you click over here, you'll see our latest upload. Over here, for what YouTube thinks you'll love the most. And finally, for a complete playlist of all our currently released questions, click here.